Hey, sir, Grandmaster Silva, thank you so much for being with me today, and especially in the very first episode of our new series, Leadership in Motion. Couldn't have thought of anybody better to have with us.
Well, that's good. At least there's no one to compare me, so I'll be the best so far.
Sorry, I can only call one.
That is awesome. So, for for the sake of anybody watching that doesn't know who you are, sir, I want to just say a few words about you before we get started. And to my students and to my audience, you've probably heard me tell stories about Grandmaster Silva before, but Grandmaster Silva is a 10th degree black belt. He's the founder of Black Belt Schools International. He's the head coach to Rainmaker Business Systems, and he's an accomplished martial artist who's been doing it for his whole life, many decades. But he also is a really good friend and one of my favorite mentors, one of the mentors that has made the most difference in my personal life, Barbara and I, but also in the creation of what Krav Maga martial arts is today. So it's with great honor and gratitude that I welcome you, Master Silva.
I appreciate that. I really look forward to the subject of leadership, and especially through the martial arts. And you had sent me a couple of things that you want to talk about, and it really piqued my interest. So I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you, sir. Well, my students are not surprised to hear that, to me, leadership is one of the most important things, that everything rises and falls on leadership. And there's so many benefits in the martial arts, right? Like, we know, of course, that it's great for real world self-defense and physical fitness. But I believe that beyond even those things that everybody knows about, that great martial arts are developing leaders. And I also believe that at times like this, like what we're going through with the coronavirus pandemic and the consequent reactions and things, people being home and businesses being closed, that leaders and leadership is emerging or not, right? Like in other words, you can't do it now, right? Like it's you either had been developing it or not to this point. And the first question I wanted to ask you, as one of the leaders I look up to, is what to you is leadership, and why is it so important? Like the word, what does it actually mean? What do we mean when we say somebody's a leader?
Well, I think being a leader is helping people get to their end goals. It's like you're in the transportation business. You're taking people from where they are to where they want to go. In martial arts, it does teach a lot of qualities of a leader. I'm sure if you took all your students and sat around the circle and go, I want you to think about a leader, and I want you to tell all the qualities that leader has. What are those qualities? They would say self-confidence. Yes, self-confidence is important for leadership, because to be a leader, you have to get up in front of people. Well, what does it take? It takes patience, because it doesn't just happen overnight. You have to be resilient, step over things. You have stepping stones, so you have obstacles, you're going to have failures. So it takes that resilience and patience. Yeah, it takes that too. What else? Well, it takes an indomitable spirit. Yeah, you have to have the indomitable. So you can go through all the benefits of martial arts, and they'll probably just tell you that without you egging them on, and they start thinking of a person. So those are qualities of leaders. Most people have those, but may not be to the level of who they're looking up to. So after everyone gave you all those answers, if you say, okay, Tommy, you told me it was all about resilience. Are you resilient? Oh, yeah, I've seen you come over some obstacles. I remember when you're going for your yellow belt, you had some obstacles learning the basics, but you made it through. So I think you're resilient. You may be not as resilient as the person you look up to, but that could happen if you train them. So theoretically, everyone has the potential to have the qualities of a leader. But I think there's more to becoming a leader. I think it's in your DNA. And what I mean by that is last year I went to Cuba. There was like 10 of us went to Cuba on a mission trip. And we're all the same. There was a couple pastors. There's a couple people that went to church. There were some new Christians. There are people that just want to get out there and help other people. And we're all in close quarters. Well, what happened after 3 or 4 days, a couple people turned out to be leaders of that group. So with 10 people, like 1 or 2 people rose to the top. We used to do team building exercises with the United Professionals. When we did these seminars, and before the day of the seminar, we would have just topics just for team building. So you'd have a team of 8 people. Well, pretty soon, out of those 8 people, everyone was working as a team, but one person just kind of rose the quality of leadership. So some people can't step back. They want to rise to the front because they have those qualities, but they also have that DNA where they truly want to become a leader. So I think besides learning the skills, if you don't have the desire to become a leader, you could just be a real good follower. And there's nothing wrong with being a good team member. So we're talking about when we did those sessions for the convention, well, we had 8 people. They made a great team. One turned to a leader, but the teamwork is the same type of qualities of a leader. They just weren't ready to lead. And I think some people think, Ken, when I said that, the leader's rising to the top. But if you're talking in biblical portions, and you start thinking about Easter being 2 weeks ago, you think about the Thursday before Easter. The Thursday before Easter is when Jesus told his disciples their final lesson. And what he did is after the Last Supper, he got down, he got a cloth, and he washed all his disciples' feet. His lesson was that if you're going to become a good leader, you have to put other people first. So some people think, well, I have to rise to the top to leadership. You don't. You have to have the desire to serve and help other people. If you have the desire and serve, that's part of the DNA. That's part of your inner strength that says, why do I want to become a leader? Because I want to help other people. I want to serve other people. It's not that I want to be just barking out orders. Those people aren't true leaderships. Because if you're a leader like that, you don't get many followers. People have to want to follow you. So you have to be that person. Okay, I want to be more like Mr. DelCastillio because Mr. DelCastillio has these type of qualities. So the leadership starts from the bottom. In fact, if you look at a lot of martial arts patches, and this goes a long way back, probably 30 years ago, we designed the SWAT patch. And the SWAT patch was a triangle, an upside down triangle, and it had a star on it, and it represented that students come first, because in a school you have a lot of students and you have one leader. Well, the students come first. That was a white part of the triangle, and then it's the small part of the triangle is the leader. So it's the same thing we talked about a little while before we did this conversation. A lot of things, when we look back and why we do this, it's biblical. So that triangle represents students come first. You know, I'm on the bottom, my students come first. Just like Jesus taught his disciples that to become a good leader, you have to become a servant leader, serving people. And that's what develops the heart and mind of a leader. The confidence, the public speaking, the tenacity, the honesty, and the integrity are qualities, but you have to have the DNA. You have to want to do it, and you have to enjoy helping other people.
Wow. That was a lot, sir. That was awesome.
Sorry.
No, I love it. And in fact, it's funny. Another thing that they don't know we talked about before this is that I prepared questions because somebody else that I'm going to be interviewing had asked for it. But yeah, you and I, we could just talk. And like now, I don't want to use any of the other questions. I want to ask questions about what you've talked about already, because like I heard so many, like even early on when you were talking about the fact that everybody has the leadership's qualities already within them, and it's just a question of kind of are developing them. I was thinking to myself, yeah, God put that there, and it's a question, right? And then when you were talking about that not everybody has the drive to want to actually be a leader, that really resonated with me because a weakness of mine, since my particular personality style is to take charge. I used to think that everybody wanted it. And I would actually be trying to take people, like as a young leader, I would try to take people that they didn't want to play that particular role. That wasn't the recipe that God had put in them. And I was trying to force them into it, right? Instead of realizing that we all have a specific role to play. So my question would be to get back to turning it into a question for you to speak is, if then we know, which we do, and which you've illuminated here, that each of us has unique gifts to bring to leadership, to bring to the mission, to bring to the service of one another, then what is the leader's role specifically in helping each individual develop and use those gifts?
I think really understanding and listening to the people that you're serving on what they want to get. Um, you mentioned Jeannie before. Jeannie, when she was part of United Professional, put on these conventions. It was really neat because she always called herself a worker bee. Her words, not mine. She was really good at putting things together. She was really good at planning. She's getting people to sign up, arranging the events. She had them, everything was going in a perfect order, but she didn't want to be on the stage talking. She didn't want to be taking credit of it. So that was her position. She felt it was really good. That was her gift, is organizations. So she wasn't looking to have the stage, but she wanted to be a part of the organization. So knowing that, that's the way she is. Blackstar, Kai Blackstar, who ran my school in Coral Springs with me, he was just a phenomenal instructor. He didn't want his name in lights. He wanted to teach those little dragons. He wanted to give it his all. And, at one time we had 300 little dragons in our school. I mean, most schools only have 300 students, and we had 300 kids under 6 years old. He didn't want to take credit for that. He wanted to just work with them. So, again, you really have to know what drives the person.
That's great.
Just like when you have people in your organization and you have to find out, what's driving people to work hard. Some people are motivated by hanging the carrot out in front of them. They always got to go get the carrot, and they're motivated by chasing that because they know that the harder they work, the more money they're going to make. Other people are driven by security. I want to know that I'll work my butt off for you, but I want to know at the end of the week I'm going to make this much money. So it's the same thing with leadership. You have to really get to know your people, know what their goals are, know what their strengths are, just by listening to them and what they want.
That's awesome. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm skipping over a few of these questions, but I'm going to try to find some that we might still want to talk about.
It was really funny when I talked about being in Cuba, because when we first got down to Cuba, the first thing we had to do was just unpack all the stuff. The whole idea was to bring resources for the churches down in Cuba for them to really serve more people. So we had all these duffel bags. So we're just unpacking duffel bags and people putting on tables. And then someone would say, I think it would go faster and better if we put all the medicine on one table and everything on this table. And then someone else would say, I think if we put all the tables together and each one had, so it was really funny. And then someone just came up with like the best idea, and then that person became the leader. But it was really neat to just see that unravel. And then people started asking that one person the questions first, instead of posing it to the group. Let's just ask this person. He seems to have just some leader just kind of, okay, I'm going to dig my feet in and, so.
Yeah, it like emerged.
It was a really, really cool experience to see it happen.
So I'm going to ask you this, because on this audience, we have all kinds, right? We're going to have other people that already are kind of in leadership roles like us. We're going to have sensei, we're going to have other school owners, but there's going to be a lot of students to include white belts and yellow belts. So I want to ask this question because I think it will appeal to a wide audience, which is, I know you have a lot of wisdom to share, but if I was to ask you for one specific piece of advice that you'd like to give to a young martial artist or any future leaders watching this, something that you think would be critically helpful, like the one thing you wish somebody had taught you 40, 50 years ago, whatever, when you were a beginner, like what would that be?
Well, I'm not going to give you a what if I learned this when I was younger. I think my mother had a real strong influence on me because she wouldn't let me stop doing anything. If I said, I'm doing this, it's too tough. She goes, you can do it, you're a Silva. I don't know what the Silva, I know that's my last name. There must be some magic in that name because she would always put it off. I wasn't going to do this, taking martial arts. I think I'm going to quit. You're not going to quit. And she says, because Silvas don't quit at anything. You can do it. So she just put so much pressure on me, but responsibility for taking. She gave me so much self-responsibility just to get things done. I remember was saying that I wanted to open a martial arts school when I was 18. I just got out of high school. I wanted to open a martial arts school. I was already teaching for my instructor. Again, I've been taking martial arts forever. So I was a black belt at that time. She goes, you can do that, but first you have to do college. I don't want to go to college. Well, that's the rules. And there's certain just things that you just made me totally responsible for. Okay, I will do this, and you're going to finish. And then I remember the first year in college is when they're really protesting for the Vietnam War. And everyone just went on strike for colleges. People walked off the college campus, and they weren't taking classes. That was a strike. And then all of a sudden, my grades just tanked. I go, this isn't going to work. I'm not even going to pass my second semester. She goes, yes, you are. You're good. It's always just like, there was no even thinking about giving up. So I think having that tenacity that you're not going to give up, and it's your responsibility. Once you made the decision, you're going to start something, you're going to finish it. Not saying that we just don't want to have quitters in martial arts. We don't want to have quitters in anything. A real good leader would have shut off the phone. But
that's all right, sir.
But besides, I think that it's just having that attitude. Every once in a while, everyone wants to give up. That was one of the lessons I used to teach my martial arts students. It was really neat, and just go real fast. I used to get them to do arm circles. And I would really have fun with them. I said, okay, arm circles, small or bigger. And I'd keep them going. And I could kind of tell when they're getting tired, because I would start getting tired. And then I would say, okay, we're going to just open and close the hands while I count to 100. And I'd count up to 50. And I was like, hey, David, you got to get a better stance. I go, oh, man, I forgot where. Let's start over. 1, 2. I really touched now their legs are killing them. And so I want them to get in a position where they would experience that they wanted to stop. I go, who wants to stop? Who wants to quit? Everyone goes, not me. I go, yes, you do. You're just saying that because you think that's what I hear, but you want to quit. It's okay to want to quit. The important thing is how you handle that. You know that if you want to get your shoulders strong, you want to get your black belt, okay, I'm going to put up with this. I'm not going to quit, even though I want to. So I used to think that was a fun lesson. This is kind of humorous, but I'll just throw this in. And I go, you don't think your parents get up every day and go, I want to go to work, and no one says, I'm going to stay home. One kid raises his hand. My dad does. If he doesn't go to work, he stays home. Okay. Obviously, I asked one too many questions.
Well, first of all, that is great. This is great stories and great inspiration, and I can't wait for my sensei specifically to listen to this. But there's 3 things that I heard, because obviously what you were really communicating was, one of the most important skills we all need, which is not quitting and perseverance and stick-to-itiveness and tenacity. But I also heard in the story, one of the first things I heard through your mother's teaching was one of the things that you taught me to do that honestly changed the life, not only my life, but the life of every student in Krav Maga martial arts for the last 20 years. Because, the truth is I had, already been in the martial arts for many, many years when I met you, but I had been raised up one particular way and kind of old school and stuff. And you were one of the first ones that taught me about developing champions from the inside out, and about seeing the potential within them, and about encouragement and the cycle of success. And anyway, so when your mom said, like, to me, it's transcendent, because your mom said it to you, and you said it to me, and every one of our students since has benefited. She said, no, you don't quit because you're a Silva. Just like when we reach down and we empower our kids' lives, because they all come in thinking they want to quit, but it's not only that we teach them the power and the tenacity, but it's also that we give them the understanding that, oh, you can and will be a black belt one day. You can and will be whatever it is they want to do one day. Mm-hmm. So I feel, when I heard you speaking, I was like, wow, she was doing the empowering. She was doing the building up at the same time. She's teaching him these important lessons, which she did to him.
Right.
The thing that we do.
Let's talk about one more thing.
Yes, sir.
It goes back to what you and I talked about. You're talking about how you have a really positive attitude, and you do. And all the students and instructors watching this, they go, yep, that's Mr. DelCastillio. He's always looking out for the best. He's got that positive attitude. And we start talking about how things written books right now talking about positive attitude. You have an attitude of gratitude, you're going to feel better. One of the people I like to follow is Jesse Elder. His thing is what you appreciate appreciates. And so to appreciate things, and all of a sudden you find more of it. Going back to my parents, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my dad. My dad found more money than anyone I know. He would find money all the time. In fact, him and my mother used to walk, and they used to find money, and they used to go on vacation. They used that money for a part of their vacation. And so everyone goes, is this guy just lucky? No, but he found money and then just figured that he's going to find more. So he looked for that. And by, when he's walking, instead of looking around like this, he looked on the ground because he expected to find money. And he didn't expect to see it in the trees, he expected to see it on the ground. So just like you're in a position, you're a great leader because you have that positive attitude, because you constantly looking for the best in things. By constantly looking the best of things, you're changing your mind to have that positive attitude. It's no different than my dad looking for things. So what you look for, you tend to find. So again, with leadership, if people are looking towards you or to someone else in their life that has a positive attitude, they have to start looking and being grateful for everything they have. They can't wait until everything's perfect. And after everything's perfect, then they're going to be happy. They have to start being happy with everything they have, and they're going to change their attitude to where it's always positive. So what you think about most, you become, and what you look for, you find. So, again, not my lesson. Those are biblical things. It just stood the test of time.
As a man thinketh.
I know you froze a little during that time. Hopefully everything was recorded.
Yes, sir. I hope so. You were. Yeah, it was great. It was great. And then I got hung right after you gave me a compliment. You went into a great lesson that I missed most of it. So I look forward to going back and watching. I do. So, well, sir, thank you so much for making this time. I know you're super, super busy. And like I said, all my students have heard stories of you before. So I think, and some of them have, of course, you've been to so many events at our school over the years and all that. So many of my students that have been around a while have met you. And in fact, maybe in closing prophecy, let's say that we'll make sure that happens again soon. In fact, I'm putting together a black belt event, sir, on at the end of this next month, at the end of May. And this is what I said. I had to cancel our March black belt tests. And so I told my students this the other day. I said, look, I think it's May 29th. I'll send you the details. But I said, this is going to happen. I said, in the best case scenario, it's going to happen where we come all together like we do a black belt test, and we do it that way. I said, in the worst case, well, actually, the next step down would be we can do it, but we got to do it in small groups, like groups of 10. I'll break it down smaller. We do it that way. I said, in the worst case scenario, we will have the first ever virtual black belt test. I said, and it'll be hard because there's a lot to a black belt test, and but we'll find a way to do it, and it will still be excellent because that's what we do.
I'm sure you're going to have a physical black belt test. We'll be back, maybe not to the normal, but we'll be back to at least getting to see each other. Could be from 6 feet apart, but we'll get together.
And we're going to make sure you get to be there, sir, one way or another, even if we bring you in virtually. But
whatever it takes.
But if you get to make it in too, that'd be super fantastic.
All right, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.